Hello and welcome to today's speed build where I decided to be a little bit of a cheater in The Sims 4 and I wanted all the perks of a tiny house without any of the downsides of actually living in a tiny house, most notably the lack of space. So I cheated a tiny house in this build. And if you don't know what that means, in The Sims 4 you can cheat a tiny house by making the walls a little differently than you would normally, so The Sims 4 doesn't qualify it as a room. Basically, you draw two or almost three of the walls, but you leave a little gap before it's closed. And then for the last wall, you draw it outside, like not connecting to the other walls, and you move it in manually. And so for some reason, The Sims 4 does not qualify this as an actual room. It doesn't give it a floor, it doesn't give it a ceiling, but it does provide walls and you can build a roof over, and in most places you can just add a floor on top. However, I did not fully think this through when I chose to build this on a Sulani beach lot, because on the beach lots on the sand you cannot build a floor over the sand. You also cannot make the foundation height like flat with the ground. So I probably should have thought all that through before I started building the home. But once I was started, I was in too deep. I was like, I really want a beachfront lot. So when I initially started this build, I was thinking I was going to be making like a luxury beach home that also had all the perks of a tiny house, which allows you to build skills faster, build relationships faster, things like that. It's actually really, really helpful in game. But I was not expecting to have a really outdoor area, because I forgot that the beach lots did not allow you to move the houses down or cover the sand. So my luxury home idea went out the window pretty quickly once I realized I was gonna have like a semi-outdoor area in this place and a very, very tiny indoor area. So instead of luxury house, it ended up being more like refurbished rustic house is what I ended up with. Also, due to needing stairs, I was having trouble having a second exit out the back to like the beach area. I had really wanted it in the common area, which was the semi-outdoor part, but due to the fact that there was no actual foundation there, I couldn't get the stairs to work. So I ended up having to move the outside door to the bedroom and also make the house a little bit skinnier so the stairs would fit before the water. Personally, I think it would be really cool to have stairs that landed right in the water, but Sims 4 did not agree with me on that. Also, if you hear what sounds like an earthquake, that is my laundry machine going. Please ignore it. In the end, I ended up having the stairs and just before the water, and that seemed like it worked out well in the end. And if it was not obvious by now, I have the main living area in the giant semi-outdoor space. And then within the tiles that are like actually a real house, I have the bedroom and the bathroom and a small hallway just to get to the rest of the area. I actually like how it ended up looking once I had adjusted the size of the bedroom, because it hid the entrance into the common area a little bit better. I really did not want those stairs there, but of course I needed them for this house to actually function. So when I could kind of hide them behind the bedroom wall and put laundry to one side, it felt like it was more cohesive and like it was meant to be that way. I do think it's also giving slightly garage vibes, but I don't think there's anything I could do to get around that. For the house itself, I had been planning to use this for one of my legacy Sims. She's a teen, and I initially was planning to have her move out on her own as a teen. And then I realized I did not want to do that, so I ended up using this house for whatever Sim I play tested for. But this legacy Sim, her mom, which is like the first legacy Sim, I guess, in this save, did not move out until she was a young adult, and her dad cheated on her other dad with her boyfriend, and at that point she was like, yeah, I gotta go. And the boyfriend at the time is also the dad of my now teen Sim, so it was a little messy family relationship for a minute. But even then, the mom did not move out until she was a young adult, And since this teen sim has such a nice setup with her current setup, her family lives in San Myshuno on a giant lot. The mom and the grandfather that did not cheat own a gallery together. They make probably like 100,000 simoleons a week. And the uncle also lives with them and he owns a gym right by there. So her living setup could not be better. And I realized it did not make sense for her to move out on her own when she was in the city having a wonderful time. So, although this house was initially planned for her, it is now not going to be used for that. But that explains like some of the decor I was going for. I wanted it to look really cool for like a teen sim who is artistic and likes acting, some types of music. She also is doing influencer stuff with like the video station. So I wanted to include a video station here in the build as well. And just the decor in the room, I wanted to feel like what seems like it would be cool for a teen sim. I added this little chair, which I feel like every teenage room has some type of circle chair that looks really cool and is actually kind of uncomfortable to sit on. But I think this one is really pretty with the fairy lights, so I left it like that. And even though it's not necessary in The Sims 4, I do put a mirror and a dresser in pretty much every room because that's what it would be like in real life. And I want the rooms to look at least kind of realistic in that sense. But that overall, I don't know if it was completely beach vibe in the bedroom because I did a little bit more floral print and darker colors. This might be better for like a mountain or a forest house, but I think it looked really cool with the aesthetic that I had been going for in terms of like teenage bedroom. And so I guess we can just pretend that it fits with the beach that is right out the window. I mean, I would love to look out the window and see the beach, so I don't think there's really any ruining that view, even if you do put darker colors in your bedroom. So the bathroom I went pretty simple on. I was a little hesitant on the tile for that because I didn't know how old school I wanted it to look because I felt like this house would kind of be cool if it was something someone had purchased and then renovated with a small budget. So like the walls all stayed the same, but maybe some like different paint or different tiles or easier things to change than like moving all the walls around. So that was the vibe I was going for in the bathroom. In the common area, I always have trouble furnishing big square rooms like that. At the beginning, I wanted the living room to be focused on the wall, and there was really only one wall you could put a TV, so that seemed like the place I had to put it. However, I later realized that if there's a gorgeous beach view right behind them, it doesn't make sense for them to be facing backwards, like right at the wall, if that makes sense. It also put the living room right in the center of the room and made it hard to fit a dining table and everything else. So even though that's where I started it, I was like, I don't know if I like this. So I moved back to the kitchen where I actually did know what I wanted to do, and I wanted a little L-shaped kitchen like that with the stove and the fridge on the wall and then the sink looking out to the ocean. I could imagine just how gorgeous it is to watch that view while you're washing dishes. It would probably take me like 7 years to wash dishes just because I would get distracted by the ocean. However, I think it looks cool, even though the Sims I don't think notice a view like that while they're inside. But here's where I remembered I needed a video station, and my current layout was not going to allow me to do that plus a table. So I started to rethink it and also started to consider having no TV in the living room and just have the view be like the focal point for the living sofa type section. So I ended up swapping that and keeping the TV stand with the books and stuff, but moving the TV into the bedroom because, again, just look at the view outside. You don't need a TV inside there. This also freed up space for me to add a kitchen island, and I am a sucker for kitchen islands. I think they're so cool. It's so fun to like casually eat breakfast at an island and stuff like that. And it, of course, gives more seating and more prep space and everything like that. Again, in The Sims, they need like one counter to prep. But in real life, I think it's fun to have an island. It also allowed me to have a sort of work area around the video station instead of just kind of cramming that into the side. So I put the video station with some cabinets near it, and I also added a table. So I had tons of seating options in this. I think it's funny that I always add a ton of seating options and like hosting options, and I almost never like invite any Sims to my home. It's only the people who kind of show up randomly that get invited inside. So my homes are always like ready to host, and then no one comes by. I'm not gonna lie, that is scarily similar to my house in real life. I just, if someone shows up, I let them in, and I don't really purposefully invite people over. I mean, I also don't know that many people in Porto right now, so that's probably part of it. But yeah, I maybe don't have actual parties at my house, but I have seating for a party if I need it. I guess, maybe. I don't know. Is like 6 seats enough for a party? Seems good to me. Back to the build, I added a carpet in here, which in real life would be an actual nightmare. Like that thing would be full of sand minute one. I'm still not sure how I would feel in real life about having a sand floor in general. I think it could be like warm and cozy on the feet, or it could be cold and wet if the water gets in. I also think it'll be very dirty and you'll have your entire house sandy all of the time. Again, on this lot, I could not fix that. But if you build it on a regular, like not beach lot, then you can just add tile over it and it looks more or less like a regular room. So at this point, I thought I was done with the build. I had furnished everything on the inside and I was like, it's looking good. And then I remembered later that the entire reason that I built on a beach lot was so the sim could have access to the beach and the water activities, because I don't like the loading screens. Like, I hate the loading screens. So on the lots where you can do more without actually hitting a loading screen, I enjoy that. And in the first part of the build, I forgot to add any water activities. So I went back in and I added pretty much everything I could fit. I added a grill that's like built into the ground. I added some floaties. I added some fish traps, some towels, and a cooler on the beach itself. I also added a jet ski and a sailboat just like floating in the water. I didn't have any tiles left for a dock, so I just left them floating. In real life, I think they would be tied to a buoy or some type of dock or something, but again, I did not have the tiles for it and I wanted the smallest size of small home, so I just left them floating out there. In The Sims, I guess they don't mind having to swim out to their boat. In real life, again, that would be weird as heck, but Sims can put up with a little bit more. I also added some solar panels, wind turbines, and water collectors so this home would be able to be off the grid. Since it was already partly outside, I figured off the grid kind of makes sense in this scenario. And that is the entire build. I did end up adding a few plants, and I don't think I show it in this clip, but I did add a mailbox to the front as well. This is what it looks like on the inside, I guess kind of finalized. For the living room, I went with a yellow color scheme and also some accents of like white and maybe a little bit of green. That was honestly just the furniture that I liked best was in yellow, so I was like, you know what? I'm going with yellow. It does have, as I mentioned before, every single area I think you need in a living room. For the bedroom, I did more of a green floral print. It is a little frustrating. The bed green doesn't match the wall green, but it was the closest I could get. And the bathroom, I forgot toilet paper and any sort of decorations, but it does function if you need it to. So I guess that works. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this build, and I have uploaded it to the gallery if you want to check it out.